You don't need abs to be healthy. You don't need to be tiny to be healthy. You just need to take care of yourself and eat right. Hey there, Coach Steven here. Okay, so I just got back from Orlando, Florida. My family and I went to Disney and Universal. I would highly recommend Disney and Universal. Both a lot of fun. If I was going to pick one, I would pick Universal over Disney. Mostly the reasons being the lineups. Disney is amazing. What they do is incredible. Very cool to see. I thought I would not be a big Disney person, but it was a lot of fun. But the reason I picked Universal is the lines were shorter and the rides were better. That's the truth. The atmosphere of Disney, super cool. Super cool. Blown away by the atmosphere and the Star Wars and all of it. Loved it. But I would pick, if I'm going to pick one, I'm going to pick Universal. All right. Now, what's interesting is I have been reading for a long time about the epidemic of weight gain in the U.S. Obviously, as a Canadian, we don't see quite as much of that. We lag a little bit behind the U.S. in some of these things. But what's interesting is there is an incredible epidemic, and they've been talking about it for years, of weight gain in the U.S. People are eating badly, and they're a lot heavier. I hadn't been back, and I've been to Florida a few times, but I hadn't been to Orlando in a bit. Last time I was in Orlando was 8 years ago with my kids. And I remember at the time in Orlando, I have sleeves, like tattooed sleeves, right? My hands, everything. And people would say, wow, look at all your tattoos, because not a lot of people had sleeves at the time. Now, lots of people have sleeves. Every second person, it seemed like, had tattoos all over the place. So I didn't stick out at all, which is kind of cool. That was neat. And I noticed the difference. The other thing I notice is the sheer number of people who are heavier now. And it's only been 8 years. It hasn't been that long. And listen, I am not a fat shamer. I'm not going to get on and say, oh, I don't believe it, I'm going to rip somebody for being overweight. I think it's a shame if somebody's overweight because of the fact that it's, your life expectancy is worse. How your life is worse. Nobody's walking around going, boy, I'd like to be really unfit. Right? Nobody likes that. But at the same time, there's different sizes of people out there, and being fit in one way, like being fit and looking a certain way, doesn't necessarily mean you're super fit, right? I've been in races before, in 10Ks and 5Ks, where people who would look at the two of us and say, well, that guy's more fit than that person over there, and they kick my ass because they're just more fit, because they can run better than I can. So I'm not ripping anybody for being out of shape. What I'm saying is I was blown away with the size difference of people now. It is amazing. I have seen, or I should say, I have not ever seen so many people who were larger than they should be. I have never seen so many motorized wheelchairs and carts for people because they were too heavy to walk. I mean, you've seen carts for people that, because they're injured or they've lost a limb. I mean, I saw a guy there that only had one leg, and he was trucking around doing all kinds of stuff, and he was fit. So it's not about that. It's really about the fact that people were just not healthy. And it really, what struck me was, now let's be clear, there were more fit women than there were fit men. So I spent time at Disney, at 4 parks in Disney and 2 parks at Universal. I went to 6 parks. In that time frame, I saw more women that were fit than men that were fit. However, I probably saw, of all the people I saw there, I probably saw 30 to 40 women that I would say, wow, she's very fit. In that entire time frame, I might have seen 8 guys. I did not see double digits for guys that were fit. I saw a lot of people who were very, very overweight and very, very out of shape. And I saw a lot of people who were in the middle, who were not in great shape, but not terrible, certainly not bad. They're, they can live their lives, that's fine. But what I saw was very, very few people that I would have deemed and said, from a professional standpoint, that person's very fit. They obviously exercise and take care of themselves. There was very few. More women definitely than men, for sure, but there just weren't very many. And I saw thousands and thousands and thousands of people. I mean, it was overwhelming, the number of people I saw. Now, what amazed me about this is last time I was in Florida, it wasn't like this. And it's been 8 years since I was in Orlando, and it wasn't like this in Orlando last time. People were heavier. I did notice that people were heavier, but I did not see that level of it 8 years ago. The other thing that blew my mind was that when we went out to a couple places, a lot of places had calories on them, which was great. I mean, you should know what your calories are when you're eating things. My son ordered a hamburger. Just the hamburger was 1,845 calories, not counting the fries. That means that's a 2,000 or more calorie meal. And there was nothing on that place that we went to, the restaurant we went to, there was nothing on there for less than 800 calories on the entire menu, including the kids' meal was over 800 calories. There's a reason people in the United States are gaining weight, and it's the food they're eating. You go out to eat in the US, you are getting hammered with calories. It is crazy, the sheer number of calories. Listen, we went to Olive Garden, and there were things on the Olive Garden menu that were at 1,900 calories for one entree. 1,900 for one freaking entree. That's not counting the bread beforehand or having the salad that never ends. Just that. There's a reason people in the US are gaining weight. There's a reason they're saying there's an epidemic and it's going to be bad, because it's not right now. Like, I've seen a difference in 8 years, right? There's been a big difference in 8 years, but it's not the 8 years that's going to be the thing. It's in 15 years, right? So 20 years down the road. So I was there 8 years ago, right? In those 8 years, you've seen a big difference. Add another 14 years to that, and that difference is going to go through the roof. Going to have some problems, and people are going to get sick, and the healthcare system is going to get strained based on that. Well, listen, everywhere we're hearing about, oh my gosh, healthcare, it's being stressed because of COVID and because of respiratory illnesses, and people are scared, and how are we going to do this? I'm on board with all that. It makes perfect sense. What concerns me is if we have that coupled with people who are really much heavier than they should be and are having health problems related to that, we're now going to have a real problem. Because if I see a difference in 8 years, imagine what the difference is in total of 20. Add another 14 years to that. It's a little frightening, and that's why people everywhere are talking about an epidemic of overweight people. An epidemic of people who are going to, and listen, it's not the person's fault. Let's be clear. I'm not fat shaming. What I'm saying is, if you're inundated with junk food and you're inundated with this stuff, you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to do some stuff, and guess what? You're going to eat too much, because that's what everybody's doing. We need to have a mind shift to eating healthier and eating more healthy food that is less calorie dense, because if we don't, we're all going to be in for a problem, and me included, right? Me, my kids, my family, everybody's included. I can talk all day long and say, I want to take care of people. I want to help people get fit. But the best way to get fit is preventative. Preventative is the best way to get fit. Teach your kids how to eat now. Teach your kids how to read a menu. I mean, if my kids are eating stuff and the kids' menu is like 800 freaking calories, that's insanity. That's insanity. That's more food than they probably need. And Mila is like 45 pounds. 8,000 calories does she really need? Now, she runs around a lot. I gotta say, she's a busy kid. But does she really need 800 calories in one meal? No. And you know what? She's going to eat more than that. What's that going to do? That's going to make her gain weight because she has excess calories. It's just fact. It's the way it works. We can't have this anymore. We got to start being smart about it. And if I can see a difference in 8 years, imagine what 20 years down the road will be. People who have gained 25 or 30 pounds will now be up 50 to 60 pounds. And 60 pounds, that's when the serious health issues happen, right? We got to take care of ourselves, guys. It is super important to take care of ourselves. I'm not busy fat shaming anybody. I'm not fat shaming anyone. What I'm saying is, if I can see a difference in 8 years, imagine what 20 years looks like. And at the end of that, where are we? What are we doing? How are we doing it? And are we in a position where people are going to just continually getting bigger? And we're going to, the average size person now, as we know, is 20 pounds heavier than it was like 25 years ago. Okay, in another 20 years, the average man's going to be 230 pounds in North America. That's not reasonable, right? If the average man is 230 pounds and 40 years before, the average man was 175 pounds, we have a problem, right? That's a lot of extra weight. Honestly, I'm about 230 pounds. That doesn't make me a small person, right? I think I'm normal size, but that's because I live in my body. But 230 pounds is not small. And I'm causing health risks for myself at 230 pounds. And I'm healthy and I exercise and I work out. The 230 pounds is not fat. Most of it is muscle. But I'm still going to have those health problems if I'm not careful with what I do, right? I have to be smart about it. It's like me jumping to 270 pounds and putting on 40 or 50 pounds of fat. That's not healthy. It's not good for me. I shouldn't do it. And the same thing applies for everybody else. We need to have a shift. And what's the shift? eat better, track your calories, make sure you eat real food. Don't go out to eat so much, don't eat junk food. We'll cut it down. It doesn't have to be perfect, just cut it down a bit. As long as you cut it down, that's all you got to do. It doesn't have to be perfect. Nobody has to be perfect. You just got to be better, right? Better than you're doing now, and you'll win. Make good choices, guys. Make good choices. You don't want to be part of this epidemic. Nobody does. And nobody wants to look at 14 years from now, so we're 20 years out of that 8-year ago date that I talked about, or 12 years rather, sorry, 12 years. Nobody wants to be in that boat and say, wow, here I am and I have a serious problem on my hands. I'm 60, 80 pounds overweight and I've got high blood pressure and I've had a heart attack, and nobody wants that stuff. I want people to be healthy. You don't have to be tiny to be healthy. You don't have to have abs to be healthy. You don't need abs to be healthy. You don't need to be tiny to be healthy. You just need to take care of yourself and eat right, and you'll be healthy. If you have comments, questions, things you want me to talk about, write them up down below. I'd like to hear from you. Have yourself a great day, everybody. Don't fight, be awesome.